welcome to Box Free with Stephanie. Today I want to show you how to make some basic foods with simple ingredients from scratch, and I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're making blueberry muffins because it's blueberry season, and I don't really like to cook with my blueberries very much when I have them so fresh like this, but I do love muffins, and blueberry muffins are just excellent. So we're going to just whip some up really quick. It's a very fast recipe. So we're going to start with 1 stick of butter in your bowl, and we're going to whip that, beat it until it's nice and fluffy. So hang on 1 second while we do this. Okay, so it takes about that long, and you definitely need like room temperature sugar. You can't start with hard. Scones you want really hard butter, but not for this one. And then we're going to do 3/4 cup of sugar. And this is because I don't like a lot of sugar in my muffins, but hang on, let me beat this together. So when you're beating this, you're just trying to get your granulated sugar whipped into your butter so it's not so granular kind of, and they're combined nicely. So that's the purpose of that. And then to this, we're going to add 1 egg, and that will make it really fluffy and nice. Then we'll add our dry ingredients. Okay, and you don't necessarily want to over whip this when you're doing your egg. You just want it all combined, and it gets, quite soupy kind of and fluffy, but you just don't want it to be whipped, too badly, because you have a raw egg and you don't want like egg meringue kind of stuff. Okay, so now, let's see, we have our butter, sugar, egg. So now we're going to do our flour. I do my you can like pre-mix your dry ingredients in a little bowl, but I just find that I don't need to, I guess. But actually, before I do that, I want to prep my muffin pan. I always like to have this sprayed ready to go. Okay, so that's ready. Oh wait, I also need to make so here's my thing. When I'm making muffins and dried good or baked goods, every time you add your wet to your dry, it like starts the chemical reaction. So I try to be as ready as possible to put my mixed product into the oven right away. And normally when I make blueberry muffins for my family, I don't do the crumble top on top of I just do plain blueberry muffins. But because we're doing a cooking show and doing a little bit fancy, we're going to make the crumble top, which of course is really, really good. My kids always love it, but I just don't do it very often. So I'm going to whip that up first before I add my dry ingredients to my wet, because I don't want my muffin batter to sit there all combined for a good 5 minutes while I'm making my crumb topping. So we're going to take a minute and get that going. So for your crumb topping, this is totally optional, and if you're in a hurry, you can just skip it. But if you've got a little extra time and want them really good, you can add that. So we're doing 1/4 cup of sugar, white sugar, and then 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And I always go a little bit scant light on that. And then we need 1/4 cup of butter. So that's 1/2 stick. And, oh, it's not coming out of there very good. Okay. And then 1/3 cup of flour. So this is just this is almost like a crisp topping, that you would, put on like oatmeal crisp or whatever. Or I mean, not oatmeal crisp, oh my gosh, apple crisp with the oatmeal. But this doesn't have oatmeal because you don't want that chewy stuff on top of your muffins. You just want, we're doing 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, which I maybe went a little heavy, but I like cinnamon and even on my blueberry muffins. So, so then we're just going to combine this with a pastry cutter. And oftentimes when I do make the crumble, I don't actually always make a full recipe because I don't really want that much on there. So I do like half a recipe and I hardly have any ingredients. So I just do it like in a little cereal bowl like this, and I just use my fingers. But today I'm making a full recipe because I'm following the recipe and the directions. But you can use a pastry cutter or 2 knives or a fork or whatever. You just want to combine this until it is all kind of together. So I think we're almost there. So that didn't really take that long, I guess. Maybe I should make it more often. But I also don't like how it comes like off your muffins, it seems like. So, but maybe that's because I don't follow the recipe and then I don't have enough butter and all that. So we'll see today if it turns out better because it does look pretty nice right now. Mine's always a little more crumbly probably because I'm just guesstimating on all my stuff and I don't really follow the recipe. So today it looks pretty good. So that's why you should always follow the recipe, right? Makes things better. That's what they say. Okay, so that is ready now. So now I'm going to come back to my muffin batter. So this is my butter, sugar, eggs. So now I'm going to add 2.5 cups of flour. And as I was saying at the beginning about the sugar thing, I really like my, okay, so it's 2.5. I really like my muffins to be not like cake, and in my opinion, when you get them, when you buy them at the store or whatever, at the bakery, whatever, doing 1/2 teaspoon here of salt, they just seem really sweet. Like not always, depends on where you go, but I just like my muffins to be not really sweet in the morning. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And so I only put 3/4 cup of sugar, but your family might really need more just to get used to a homemade muffin. So just add more. Like homemade is better with even more sugar than store-bought just because it's homemade. So if you find that your family doesn't like your homemade muffins because they're not sweet enough, just add more sugar. But this is to me is like a very much of a bread product, not a cake product, and that's what I want. Okay, so then I'm going to take my little cute cow, and I'm going to add 1 cup of milk. Isn't that so cute? Oh, he doesn't even hold a cup of milk? He doesn't. Look at that. Wow. I did not pre-measure, so hang on. I'm going to get some more milk. That's funny. So he really is just for decoration. Well, I guess you could put him on like oatmeal. That would work. You don't need a whole cup. Okay, so 1 cup of milk. And my cow is still really cute. So still worth it. I'm going to put him right front and center there. Okay, so now you just stir this up, and you do want this to be blended nicely. You don't really want to overwork your dough, but I have found when I underwork my dough, I do sometimes get little chunks of, it almost seems like a chunk of flour or something kind of tough in my muffin, which of course isn't beautiful and perfect. So you just want to stir this up, but you don't want to like whip it, you know, I mean, you're not, otherwise I've read that it gets too tough. So that's what you're looking for, a nice thick dough, okay? And then to this, you add 1 cup of blueberries. This is kind of a hefty cup, but that's okay. Can't have too many, I don't think. Then you just kind of, what do you call these? Fold in these. You fold in the blueberries. And you just are working it enough to get the blueberries all over the dough. So you don't have, you know, 1 muffin with no blueberries and 1 with all of them. And just about like that. So that's what we're going for. Just kind of a nice combined thing. All right, now we're going to plop these into our muffin pan. And I use stoneware, but whatever, you could, whatever muffin pan you have. And I never use the paper liners. I've never understood why you need those for muffins, but to me, it's just more garbage, and I don't know. But if you want that, like, go for it, whatever. Whatever makes you cook from scratch. That's what it's all about. So, and that's why I say, like, if your kids or your family wants the crumble and that's how they're going to eat your homemade muffins, then add it because it's much better. And I do like to make these in the morning a lot because I feel like they're really fast. And so I make them in the morning, and then that's what we get to eat is nice warm muffins, and I just think that's really nice. So, and normally when I'm doing this every day or whatever, and I'm not making the crumb topping, which is most times, I will sprinkle these with cinnamon and sugar. So I don't generally just put it in and put it in the oven. I do actually put cinnamon and sugar on top just because I like the extra little bit of cinnamon and extra tiny little bit of sweetness. So, all right, now I got to get all this good batter out of here. Okay. Sometimes I look around and like say, oh, this one's kind of big, this one's kind of small, whatever. But in general, it doesn't really matter. And in muffins, you do want your muffin tin or whatever filled like 3/4 full. It just makes them pop up more. So, okay, so now we're going to just add our crumb top. And for that, I am going to use my fingers. And this does feel really nice and buttery, like it's going to stick nicely. And I don't really know how much to put on each one, so you just kind of guesstimate. And then the butter in here should kind of melt as it's baking and kind of stick to your muffin. So you don't really have to like push it down on top, you know. I mean, it's not like you have to be like and push it in, you know. You just put it on top, and it really should bake in with all that nice butter. I'm going to try to get a bunch of it off my pan and actually into my muffin cups here. Okay, so that is our blueberry muffins. Okay, so now we're going to pop them in the oven. My oven's preheated to 400, and we're going to bake it for like 18 to 20 minutes. If you have frozen blueberries, which you can totally use, it doesn't have to be fresh. Most times in the winter, I always use frozen. Then you just need like another 3 to 4 minutes of baking because the cold frozen blueberries make this so cold. But mine's room temperature right now, so it should be a little bit faster. Okay, so I'm going to set the timer and we will be right back in about 20 minutes. Okay, we are back. My blueberry muffins are baked and cooling. They actually baked for like 24 minutes, which seemed like a long time today, but whatever. And now they've been cooling for like 3 or 4 minutes. In fact, 4 minutes. I set my timer for 5 minutes to let them cool. It's always a good idea when you're baking things to let them cool in the pan, like they say 10 minutes, but honestly, in the morning, I usually just wait 5 minutes. Sometimes I don't wait any minutes. It all depends. But today I waited 5 minutes before we're going to take them out. So this is what they look like. The crumb topping has kind of fallen off to the side a bunch. But it does look really nice and yummy. So I did test it with my little toothpick and nothing comes out on it. That's how you know it's baked. You don't want to underbake your muffins. I have a habit of kind of doing that, and I finally just taught myself, like, don't underbake them. So then you let them cool, and then you pop them out. So when I don't have the crumb topping, I have that cinnamon and sugar, and then the tops actually look a little bit browner. So I thought these weren't getting done because they're just so pale on the top because they don't have the cinnamon on there. But they're done, obviously, and they just look different. They're usually a little bit darker because of cinnamon and sugar. So I'm just going to start digging them out. You can see my blueberries have like piled all over and stuff. And sometimes, oh, maybe I was going to say when I don't have the crumb topping, I can just kind of like flip my pan over, and sometimes they all pop out really nicely and sometimes they don't. But usually they do if I've greased my pan well and I have, a nice dough. And you can see like right here how it's kind of moving up or whatever. So that's what you're looking for. A nice muffin like that. Here I'm already losing my crumb topping. So this is probably why I don't even make it, because I don't know. It is really good though. But it all kind of falls off. So excuse me, you can use a little, I don't even know what this thing is, but really nice handy tool to kind of scrape around the edges. And I just kind of push my muffin up like this until I can see that it's loose from the pan. With this crumb topping, I probably would not tip my pan over because I'd be too worried about all the crumbs falling off. But they really aren't going to fall off. I mean, they're pretty much on here. But they're all kind of into my pan like this, baked into my pan. And like just doing that, you can see that this muffin is already kind of ready to come up. So, and then I lost all that crumb topping in there. Bummer. So I wonder if I can just throw it back on. I don't know. We'll like frost our muffin. There, we'll try that. So I'm just going to take all of these out and let them cool. Normally we kind of eat them right away. You do want your baked goods to cool for like another 5 minutes or so if you can wait that long. But if you can't wait that long, whatever, you just have nice hot muffins to eat. But it does change the texture is my point. There's a whole bunch of crumb topping that came off. When you eat warm baked goods versus like the next day when they're cool, I've noticed the texture is very different. So when they're hot like this, they're very delicate. So if I was to cut one of these like right now, it would probably almost just crumble all apart. And then it might look like, oh, that's not even a good muffin. Like it's all crumbly. But tomorrow they won't be crumbly. They'll just be beautiful and tender and nice. But if you eat them too soon when they're right out of the oven, they can get really crumbly. Like this one is really like falling over because I have so many blueberries right there. But that's what I just want you to be aware of. Like if you're going to eat it when it's really hot, don't expect to like slice it and have a perfectly beautiful slice because it's just too tender. So these are all just popping out really nicely. I just put my thing in there, push it up, and they all just come out so nicely. So that's pretty awesome. Sometimes when you have these berries like this, the berries can like stick to the pan and then they don't always want to come out. So that's when you have to go around the edge like that. But once you've kind of loosened it, you're good to go. Okay, so these are your homemade blueberry muffins. So I guess I'll cut into one. I don't know. I'm not really going to taste it because I make these all the time and I love this recipe and I know it's going to be delicious. But let me grab a serrated blade. When you are cutting bread, a serrated blade is better. And I'm going to take the itty bitty one because, well, I should do that one. That's been sitting out the longest. Okay. You want a serrated blade is my point when you're cutting into bread. And you really want to do like a sawing action. Okay. So, oh, look at that. Wow, that's beautiful. Can't wait to eat them. Okay. So that's what you're looking for. Look at, they're really nice and hot and they're still like not crumbly, like I said. So maybe what I said is not so right. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point is it's going to be delicious and you got all that nice pocket of fresh blueberries. Even with frozen, you sometimes get that, but the frozen ones are generally smaller. And so, well, the ones I buy anyway are smaller. And so you don't get such a giant pocket. You just get more of them. Anyway, so that's your blueberry muffins. Thank you very much for watching Box 3 with Stephanie. I hope you like the show. I hope you make blueberry muffins. Your family loves them and you can stop buying the box mix and make them from scratch. Okay, thank you very much for your time. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.